When America came to grips with the reality of having to fight on two continents, the first order of business was to find the right commander for each theater of operations. Germany posed the most immediate threat in Europe, but when Americans began combat missions in the European theater in 1942, they weren't quite in Europe. Where did the fighting take place? In Africa, along the northern coast of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. The British Army had been fighting along the North African coast for 2 years, first against the Italian army invading Egypt from Libya, and later against the Germans' Afrika Korps. After 2 years, neither side achieved any particular advantage. But with American forces opening up a new front, there was hope that the Allies could take control of the region and then invade Europe through Italy. Commanding the American forces was a rising star, Dwight Eisenhower. General Eisenhower had distinguished himself with his organizational and administrative abilities in the years leading up to the war. He had an unusual ability to moderate different points of view to reach consensus, and an uncanny knack for placing the right commanders in positions of leadership. Eisenhower commanded 3 task forces invading Morocco and Algeria. Defending were French soldiers loyal to France's Vichy government. The French initially fought against the invaders, but they soon surrendered and switched to the Allied side. However, the first engagements with the German army were a very different story. With 2 years of desert fighting behind them, the Afrika Korps frustrated American efforts at first. Eisenhower made a decision to replace the commander of his lead task force with the more aggressive General George Patton. With Patton leading the charge, the campaign in North Africa soon turned the Allies' way. By May 1943, the Germans surrendered their last stronghold in North Africa. It was the first decisive victory for the Allies. In the Pacific, the clear choice for commander was Admiral Chester Nimitz, who was chosen to lead just 10 days after the assault on Pearl Harbor. A gifted organizer and leader, Nimitz was also an authority on modern naval warfare. He also enjoyed an incredible advantage over the Japanese Navy. American codebreakers had advance warnings of the next Japanese attacks. With this knowledge, Admiral Nimitz directed a concentration of forces to defend Midway Island, strategically positioned between Hawaii and Japan. In what turned out to be the decisive battle for the Pacific, American planes launched attacks that sunk 4 Japanese aircraft carriers. Americans only lost 1 carrier. Armed with information from codebreakers, the U.S. destroyed the core of the Japanese Navy in just 1 battle. 3 more years of fighting lay ahead, but the tide had turned in the Pacific, and Japan was on the defensive from that day on. Neither General Eisenhower nor Admiral Nimitz was a field commander before World War II. How could organizational and administrative skills help to make both men outstanding military leaders?